Here we go. I have 6 o'clock. We'll call this regular Clifton Independent School District Board meeting to order at 6 o'clock with all board members present except for Mr. Montez. And then would you please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, has anyone signed up for public comments? No, sir. Thank you. Item number 4 is the consent agenda. Has everyone had time to review the consent agenda? If so, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Mr. Ritzman. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Brown. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstain? Motion carries. Item number 5, discussion and consideration to approve a proposal from the Clifton Education Foundation. And we're ready for Miss Peggy Berry. Miss Peggy Berry.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to come today. I went to school here in Clifton and moved back for a few years and have moved away, but I am very interested in our foundation for scholarships for students. And I think we need to promote it more. And there's one way, and I'm going to pass these pictures out to you. This is called a giving tree or donor recognition to recognize the people that gave all of the money that we gave out this year, which was 140-something thousand. So I'm purchasing this and donating it to the foundation. And we would like to put it up somewhere where it's noticeable, where people see it. It helps the people in town that come in to see that people are donating for their students' money. And we need help with doing that. And I would hope that maybe we could do it up here in the auditorium where people, not only people from Clifton, have students here, but people coming to town for some event would say, okay, I wonder what that is. Why are the names up there? I'll show you a picture and then I'll pass this out. This is the modular tree, and the big one is what's being purchased. Then through the years, you can purchase another side outside of it to add to it. So it'll never fill up, well I guess. And then these are the leaves that will go on it. And the leaves will have names on it, or in memory of, or if it's a company, then the company will have their name, however the people want it. But this is how we want people to know in Clifton who is helping our students. And I will pass both of these out to you and let you look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Y'all get to share. That's fine. So, anyway, we're really excited about helping our students this way and hopefully gaining more donations from people and also giving recognition to the people that are donating is what we would really like to do. So I'm just asking for your support, and I can help in any way I can. If you have questions or anything, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Berry?
That's great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's a neat deal.
If not, do we have a discussion? Yeah, do we have a motion to approve the proposal from the Clifton Education Foundation?
I make the motion, we approve as presented.
I have a motion.
Are we approving just
Great question.
receiving it, or
Yeah.
are we approving where we're putting it? What are we approving?
Great, we can
I
talk
think
about.
receiving it, because I think we're going to have to find a place to put it that gets a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's make sure that that's clear, Ms. Berry, if you want to come back. We're going to approve it tonight in receiving the tree, and then have a discussion and talks probably with you guys about where to find the perfect location at the PAC, and then
Okay.
be in touch
Or
with.
anywhere else that gets the most traffic.
Yeah, we,
That's what we want,
Like
the
the
most.
gym, or the high school front office, or wherever may get the most
Yeah, and you know,
traffic.
thinking of the gym is a good idea, but at the auditorium, you've got not just parents, as you do in the gym. In the auditorium, you have parents, grandparents, or people coming to city events, where more people that are probably going to donate are in the auditorium than they are in the gym.
Let me ask you this,
That's-
Ms. Berry, how movable is it if we,
Yeah.
It's
if
funny-
like during volleyball season, we start within the gym, but then we're gonna host a band concert,
Can
is
we
it
move-
movable to?
It's not, it's going to
Okay.
be on the wall.
Oh, okay, I got
It's
you.
going to be attached to the wall.
Okay,
So that's, wherever it is, it's going to stay.
because in our thoughts, our community members, we use our gym 2 to 3 nights a week, having traffic, even with the traffic of out of town. Because in our gym, we have the kind of state wall. I don't really, is that what it is?
Yeah, in the
So,
gym.
yeah, so it travels
Yeah.
by and sees a lot. We don't have as many activities at the PAC. So we just want to make sure that in receiving this, we're putting it
Where-
out of respect to you guys too, to get the most traffic
Views, yeah.
and views.
Well, and
Um,
that y'all know more about than we do. so.
But we would be in contact with you guys and making sure that you approved kind of our location or what we felt was best.
Okay.
Because it could be one of those things, maybe eventually we had a running something over there that could still, a digital something, and they could
Right.
be a part of that
Correct.
digital something,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, well, yeah, you could do that at the.
But just, I'm thinking out loud, that's not
Right, well-
anything, but, okay, we wanted to make sure. Are there any other questions for Ms. Berry? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So we will be making a motion. We're looking for a motion to approve the, receiving the giving tree with more discussion once it arrives at its location. So if so, I'm looking for that motion.
I make the motion that we approve receiving the giving tree from the Clifton Education Foundation.
I have a motion by Ms. Willman. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second by Mr. Ritzman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstain? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Go.
No, and thank you for your gifts to the kids,
Yes.
truly. It
Amazing.
was very much appreciated this year, so thank you. Item number 6, discussion and consideration of the budget workshop dates.
I put in there, and Ms. Pressure and I talked about this, our July board meeting is July 21st. And so what we've done previously is done it that same night, so we could either do it before or after the meeting. And that'll give you the opportunity, and it's been a couple of years since we had that budget workshop and then another one after that. There were some questions that had come up. But that gives you the opportunity to see everything presented that night. And then if we need to have another one later on before the adoption, we would have time to do that as well. Correct, Ms. Pressure? So July 21st is the night of our regularly scheduled meeting.
I know we have potential one member out on the 21st, so do we want to have everyone present for that? Or are we okay with just glancing at it and then setting another one? I need some feedback on where to go with that from you guys. To lead in that direction.
And if you want to have it, you do not have, it does not have to be on the same night as a board meeting.
I know. No,
We've just
no.
done that because that saves another night from everyone being
Sure.
up here.
Would it be before the meeting or after?
Either way.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we can't be there, we'll still have the products on board books, so we
Be in touch.
can watch the presentation on Facebook and YouTube.
And be in touch with me. That's great.
Are you
That's
the ones
fine.
out?
No, it's me.
I was like,
Well, I think I might be out. I'm looking at it too.
so that's why I was like,
Maybe
if,
two.
then we, yeah, we might need to look at a different date. Let's, what if we tentatively set it for the 21st, so that we can keep that date, together? And if that's, becomes an issue for anyone else, let me know, and, then we can plan accordingly.
What might be another night?
That's what I was just about to ask the people.
I can't that entire week,
Okay,
but if it needs to happen when I'm out, that's fine.
okay.
I can catch up.
Let's just, I mean, I say we leave it and we'll just, if we've got if we can't have a quorum, then we'll plan it for another time.
Which we gotta pivot anyway, cause it's the date of a regular board meeting, so.
Exactly.
Is it done, Ms. Prusher? Does it take a lot of time to where if we did move it around on a quick notice?
No, I mean, the 21st is still early to me, so I won't get final tax numbers until like July 25th. Then I start really knowing more about tax side of it. So it's after that is great as well.
Okay,
So you could do the 28th or the
28th.
following
21st is
August
just
month.
kind of premature.
sure,
What
okay,
I did.
so 28th is a better date for you,
Could be, yeah.
okay. Well, let's just kind of, you know what, yeah, you're out. Yeah, we're getting into that last few, everybody traveling before their people go back to school. So it's just gonna have to be a moving target, or we're gonna all have to do our homework and be present.
Is August 4th too late?
August 4th might be better than
Hey,
July
that-
28th.
That's fine as well because,
I'm assuming most people will be back.
We're
yeah.
good. We're good.
So would we rather change it to that as the tentative date? Then
Sounds like
everyone's
it.
present for feedback. All right,
Yeah. that's-
okay, August 4th, budget workshop,
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. Got it.
Does that work for you?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, we don't need a motion for that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. It says consideration, so I'm just making sure. All right, number 7, discussion and consideration of scheduling the date for the budget and tax hearing, excuse me.
And we put in there to set that for Monday, August 25th.
Because that's a regular board meeting, correct? No, 18th. Okay,
18th, isn't it?
that's, the 25th for that. That meeting takes 5 minutes typically. Unless there's something else available. Okay. Is everybody okay with that? School's back in session on August 25th.
Yep.
It's adopting the tax rate. Okay,
But our regular schedule is on the 18th.
yeah, 18th.
Can we not do it that night?
I don't think so. It's gotta be so many days. Can we maybe do it the 18th?
I don't know if we'll have time to post all that
Usually
information.
it's as late as possible if we can go, just mainly that it's for the tax rate and the budget, but it's for as well closing out this year.
Sure.
And we don't know all of these numbers until like last day of August almost.
Gotcha.
And we have to make a final budget amendment and stuff like that.
Sure. We knew you had a process, we just didn't. Yes, but great question.
So we want to do
That one is August 25th.
that? So we're having a meeting the 18th and the 25th?
Yeah.
Can we put one in there at 11?
I won't
And
be
the
there for either one of those, just so you know.
Okay.
If we put one on the 11th, we'll see everybody every Monday in August. Can we move the 18th to the 25th?
I'm sorry, what?
Can we move the 18th to the 25th? Kill two birds with one stone?
Well, 18th is our regular scheduled board meeting, which is the third Monday of the month. I mean, we could move it, but,
You could.
Is that more of a thing?
no, I mean, it's,
No, 'cause we moved
as long as we
it.
post it, it's fine.
We won't move it to that. If we're gonna do that, we'll put it
We
on
have to
the
do that
agenda
next
for July.
meeting.
Possibility of moving the August board meeting.
I'm fine with that. I just need someone to direct us in the correct way so that we get it on the agenda for
Well-
July.
The 25th, as you said, it's going to be a really short meeting.
The 25th is a very short meeting because
So it wouldn't be that big a deal. If
I
it's two
mean-
long meetings, I understand, but.
that would
Yeah,
shorten a
normally it
meeting
doesn't take
for
very
us.
long at all.
I'm not opposed to that. So that works for me
I'll send a request
on the 25th.
through the channels for the 25th. for-
Fantastic.
next work.
And then we'll get it on the next board meeting. That would be great.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
So on Lisa's budget timeline, that's posted in there? Because it says by August 20th, present the proposed budget. And then by August 31st, hold the public meeting to adopt the budget and adopt a tax rate. So don't you need to present it to us on the 18th?
If I have a general idea by the August 4th meeting,
It would
I
be
can
okay.
do it at that time, yeah.
Okay.
You just have to adopt it by then.
Okay, good check.
And then to propose it as well as I have to post it on the website, as far as what's proposed by that day.
I guess the other thing to then question is if we move it, well, I guess we can discuss it that evening, if we want to make any changes to it or anything like that, because we've got, what, 6 days before you have to
Yes.
adopt it, so. Yeah, okay. That's
Let's-
fine.
Everybody okay with that?
As long as
Le-
the two timelines are good for.
As long as Lisa's okay
compliance,
with it.
Yeah, as long as we're in compliance.
Yes.
Okay, if we're in compliance, then yes, if you come back tomorrow and you relook and we're not in compliance, okay, we will stay where we are. But go ahead and send, that request and we can discuss that in July.
Okay.
But we cannot do that tonight. So punt that to July. Great. Number 8, discussion and consideration of the investment policy.
CDA local is our investment policy, which is on there, and that's an annual, you just adopt that. There are no changes as far as that policy is concerned at this time.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Ball? If not, then I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I make the motion that we approve the investment policy as written.
I have a motion by Ms. Willman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Conrad. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstain? Motion carries. Number 9, review quarterly investment and budget reports.
I think the first one that it's attached is the investment report.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so our market value in our cash fund, our general fund in cash account is $740,000 as of May 31st. Our investment pools were $10 million, and our CDs at Citizen State Bank was $1 million. So total cash and equivalents as of May 31st was $12.4 million for the general fund. Our interest and sinking fund, we have $150,000 in cash, and in investment pools, $2 million for a total of $2.1 million. You'll see our investments below. We have 3 investment pools, 4 accounts at each of these pools, as well as the 2 CDs for, like I said, a total of $11 million. Year-to-date interest is $344,000, and our INS is $2 million within the one investment pool, and interest year-to-date was $85,000. Interest is still good, unless you have a loan.
Are there any questions? No? Okay.
Questions? All right, the next set of numbers is our quarterly budget report for our general fund. It's their third quarter ending May 31st, but there's lots going on within the last 2 weeks or so, so I actually dated it with all the numbers as of last Friday, June 13th. So the highlighted columns, we have the green column is our budget. Our melon-colored column, as Ms. Jones said, is our estimated total actual by the end of the year, and then the blue is the budget variance. So for our local, we had $7.5 million total budgeted for income. I estimate $8 million by the end of the year, a budget overage of $497,000. 2 of the largest items were our our property tax collections. We had $200,000 in delinquent. That usually averages about $100,000. We also had 2 receipts of tax checks for tax foreclosures. So that was our overage of $255,000 within our property tax. Interest, I budgeted for expected interest cut on taxes or interest rate. So we have $150,000 budgeted. Our estimated year end would be $382,000, so an overage of $232,000. So for our state program revenues, we had $5.5 million budgeted. Our estimated year end should be $5.7 million. The overage of $229,000, it's a calculation within the state.
So what happens is when they do these compressed rates and they lower the limit and so forth for property taxes that can be charged to the elderly and disabled and so forth, as well as the homestead exemption, they note what we should receive without that exemption and what we should receive with the exemption. And it's called a hold harmless. So they don't really penalize us. They give us more money in spite of those exemptions, if that makes sense. But I will say that number is reported to the state from our BCAD. That number we were told several months ago may be overstated. So the 200,000, we've yet to see when it will be adjusted. The lawyers that work for BCAD, they notified us that they reviewed like across the state they said the instructions from the state comptroller were misleading to the appraisal districts, so lots of districts all over the state were overstated. So they're working with the state to find the correct number. So that number might go away, might be significantly reduced, we're just not sure just yet. So that's additional state aid that they're assuming will be given to us, but that's just based on incorrect numbers right now, if that makes sense. So total revenue that we have budgeted is 13.7 million. I estimate 14.5 million by the end of the year. So revenue overage of $790,000.
That's good.
Yes.
On the Medicaid reimbursement line, can you explain that difference and where that's coming from?
So what it is we, it's called SHARS. And so for students that are in our special education department that receive services that are on Medicaid, we can track those amounts of for reimbursement to the state. It's for their personal care that's given to them. It's for their speech services, their therapy services, all of that kind of stuff. We have to note every single minute of every hour spent on those students as how much we've incurred in expenditures. We submit that to the state once a year. They adjust it based on a ratio of how many kids are on Medicaid to how many are not, how many ride the bus to how many are not, and so forth. And they reimburse us a certain percentage. It's usually about 30% on the dollar they reimburse us. Over the last 2 years, they've kind of stiffened those rules as what you can claim as a reimbursable expense as far as personal care given to a student that's required within their IEP versus what's not required and just a helping hand. So they really narrowed that gap. It's on a 2-year lag that they are reimbursing us. So they've told us that that amount will be reduced as we go forward. So this, the overage here, I usually budget in the past, it's been about $50,000, knowing that it will be reduced. I lowered it to 25, but they then trued up from 2 years ago and gave us the additional funds, and that's the $63,000 in overage. So,
Thank you.
we have decided that we'll probably forego that going forward just because they have notified everybody across the state that that amount will be very small going forward is what you can claim as a reimbursable expense. So the time we spend, not necessarily me, but the staff and all of the therapy and stuff like that, the time they spent recording the minutes that are tracked for each student, the expense of that far outweighs what we will be reimbursed in the future.
Right,
So we're
because we're
probably
paying a contract for a lot of those.
Yes, yes. Lots of it is the occupational therapy and so forth. So, that makes sense. Okay, excuse me, for expenditures, I have them listed by function. I was just going to note the ones in the blue over to the side, any major differences. So as far as instruction, it wavered back and forth. We've saved a lot of money within payroll, but yet the new House Bill 2 and how they're telling us that we need to give a X amount raise going forward for this next year. We have to allocate that into daily wages and accrue for when teachers and staff come back in August. So we've saved about $80,000 to $90,000 in payroll,
but it's gonna cost me about 80 or 90,000 to incur that increase in wages for the August days that will be worked, if that makes sense. So, right now, looking at, we have 7.7 million budgeted. I look to spend about 7.7 million with instructionals, so a minimal savings that will come out of instruction. On library and staff development, we're currently over budget just because of the increase in fees, and knowing that we had a little extra money, I let the library, I told him the other day if he could build back up our inventory that hasn't really been replenished. I told him he could go over budget, and that I would fix it in the end. So he's slightly over budget. Staff development, it's about the same. Campus administration, a savings of about $1,100. Guidance and counseling, a saving of $1,200. Health services, we're going to save about $20,000, and that's just because of a change in staff. Our RN left at the beginning of the year and was replaced internally with our LVN. Transportation, we have a savings estimated about $16,000. As compared to the previous years, fuel and maintenance costs have decreased drastically over the last couple of years. Extracurricular, it looks like we'll save about $9,600, and that's just from travel fees, UIL fees, post-game fees that didn't happen this current year. So central administration, we have a savings of $6,900. There was less travel, less courses outside of Region 12 and so forth. Plant and maintenance, we're going to save, I'm estimating about $66,000. That's coming from payroll. We absorbed a position at the beginning of the year, then hired somebody to fill in because we needed them, and then they didn't work out. So we ended up with about $20,000 in payroll savings. Maintenance and repair, last year we spent about $50,000, this year $21,000. So less water leaks, and I told Mr. Wallace I'd knock on wood for that. Maintenance supplies, we spent $33,000 last year, only needed $19,000 this year. So everything's going good so far. For Function 52, security and monitoring, we had $11,000, and that is mainly for the Stop It app. We had some savings in our safety grant, so we're going to actually use the money that we had reserved for the Stop It app over into our safety grant, which will close at the end of the year. So there was savings there. There's about $2,500 in data processing savings. Facilities and renovations, we, again, knock on wood, no major repairs or AC replacements. Any major projects that we did, we used our 313 solar money to take care of those. As well as our appraisal district, you'll know at this time last year, they had a budget. We adopted their budget, and then they changed it about October, November. So their budget decreased by about $18,000. So that was a savings to us. So by year end, it looks like our total expenditures will be $14 million, a savings of expenditures of $228,000, which will give us a year to date of excess funds of $453,000. So what was believed to be a deficit is, by my estimation, will not be.
Good job.
Luckily.
Great job, thank you. Do we have any other questions for Ms. Prescher?
No. And I will say, Ms. Jones and I have been talking and so forth, the savings that we're going to see, it looks like we are going to try our best to buy most of the school supplies to start up the next year and not, and alleviate that burden on parents. So that is built into this as well.
Good.
Okay, the next page is our food service budget. Just in total, our total revenue we had budgeted is $754,000, estimated year end $757,000, so a slight difference of $2,800. As far as expenditures, total expenditures, $754,000 budgeted, $757,000 estimated at year end. Again, a small difference, net to zero. I will say that we did allow for a budget adjustment using solar farm money to buy a new refrigerator over at the high school. That was, our first estimate, our first proposal was $15,000. It ended up about $9,000. So we placed that on order. It should be coming in the next month or so.
Good.
Next year's planned improvement will be a steamer, she said. Those range from about $15,000 to $20,000. The last page is our interest and sinking fund. Total revenue budgeted is $1.8 million. Total estimated revenue received is $2 million, an overage of $190,000. Total expenditures budgeted was $4 million. We made the additional principal payment a few months ago, so total estimated actual at the end of the year will be $4 million in expenditures, giving us a deficit of $2 million as planned, which will roll into our fund balance that is currently at $2.9 million. Any questions? Lots of numbers.
Not at this time. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Good
Item-
news. That's very good.
Item number 10, review, discussion, and consideration of the Clifton ISD Board operating procedures.
When we talked about this last month, there was a paragraph y'all wanted to be put in there, and it's on, Ms. Vander was able to put that on page 8, about delegating hiring authority to the superintendent, and so that was the wording we used, and she highlighted it so you could see. That was the only thing we talked about last month, was adding to it, so with the opportunity to add something between then and now and next month if we need to.
That's good.
So what this would do was, what you brought to us in May for you to make hiring decisions, this would put this into operating procedure, so every year, whoever's that superintendent would have the ability to hire without our approval. And this
Correct,
over
without
time.
doing it at that board meeting, which was what Mr. Ritzman asked for that night.
And this is one of those documents that's working, so a working document. So if a superintendent comes in and there needs to be changes, it can be changed from this document at any time
Yeah.
by the board.
By the board, yeah, that's my only thing is if, you know, the board changes, the superintendent changes, and so how we thought about the future. If we wanted to leave something in place that says, hey, you have to come to us in May and ask, or we feel comfortable that that's
For sure.
fine.
Correct.
For
That's
sure.
right.
And we've,
I know it was there before in the past, and then
no,
it got strict.
for sure. And I think it's one of those documents that we put on the agenda every April just to review. So if it wasn't all of us, people would be able to look at it and we'd leave it better than we found it. And then that way they could ask those same questions, because it's a good question for whoever's in that seat or any of these seats, and making sure that that's appropriate. But yes, the last 2 years, I think, we've put it on the agenda for every April. We re-look at those board operating procedures. And that's a document we can change at any time, as any board member sees fit. So, but great question. So if there are no other questions or discussions, I'm looking for approval for the board operating procedures.
Make a motion that we approve the updated board operating procedures.
Have a motion by Mr. Ritzman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Brown. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll get Ms. Vandenberg to post that.
Number 11, review and discussion of campus end-of-year testing data and STAR end-of-course preliminary results. Excuse me. Who's first? Mr. Jackson, the high school.
Do you have this on your computer? Would you like a hard copy?
We do. We do have it.
Sure.
I'll take one, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is just a quick summary of kind of how our spring scores turned out. And overall, we're very pleased with the results. So we'll just start with the approaches. So we'll go through each one. Approaches. So keep in mind the one in parentheses, that's middle school and high school, algebra 1 together. And then the one to the far left, outside parentheses, just high school. And then the state average is based on the middle school and high school, everyone that took the test. So overall as a district, we were above the state average in every category there in the approaches as a district. Very pleased. Our biology, history, and English, they were all outstanding, well above the state average. And so in the meets category, again, this is what our goals are based on every year. Again, our district average is above the state in every category there. So our very pleased with that. At the high school campus, we were maybe one student less. That percentage is probably one student difference there from where we were last year at the meets. So just still an area, that's always an area that we want to improve in. But we did very well overall as a district and campus there. And then in the master's category, in the algebra, you can see we were a little bit below the state average overall, but we, as a district, we were above where we were last year, and then the high school alone is right the same. It's 1 percentage point, but it's just a numbers game. They're just depends on how many students there were, but it's roughly the same number of students. And so we were, holding steady there in the English 1, maybe one student lower in the English 2 area, but in our biology, history, again, we're well above state average there. So very, very pleased with those results. And then you can see the last slide just kind of puts them all together so you can see overall our goals are based again on the state average meets. So we're looking at improving at it should be on the algebra, it should be plus 10% on that one. For our campus anyway. I think the state, as a district, we were still above state average, but as a campus, the high school, we want to improve that by 10%, but as a district, we're still above state average. So all in all, and then just overall, these, you can see it just different format in the graph. These charts, you can kind of see just same data is just put in a graph, so it's really easy to see. And very pleased. Our teachers are doing a good job. Our students are working hard, and I'm just we are going to have a new English 2 teacher with Mr. Voss leaving us, but we'll have a different English 2 teacher, and we also have Mr. Bennett leaving. So Coach Jassine's going to move up to the upper level math, and we have a new teacher, Mr. King, Ben King, that we hired recently, is going to do the algebra, pick up that. So I think he's very strong in that algebra department. So he's excited to join us and looks forward to getting started on that. So, any questions on any of that information for the high school?
Yes.
So based on the accountability slide, I don't see it, is it just too premature to have the accountability based off of, like, did we meet the goals this year based off of last year's? Because I didn't see any slides that.
On the meets, you're talking about, so.
This is our preliminary.
This-
We don't
yeah.
get, we will not get accountability numbers till mid-July, like the students who actually count on our accountability roster.
Okay, that's
Because
what I
some
was
of
thinking.
these could be taken out.
Right. Okay.
Duplicate
Is-
testers are in here, but they don't count on accountability.
Right.
Okay.
So we'll review those
Yes, ma'am.
later.
Yes,
All right.
that's what, yeah,
This
this
is
is all
all prelim.
preliminary,
Correct.
hot off the presses.
Just wanted to make sure I was remembering correctly.
Yes, that's
Right.
correct.
But just kind of as our goals that we set for ourselves, we want to improve 5% on what we did last year. So if you look at the meets on like the history and the biology, we exceeded what we did last year in the meets category.
Right.
Then English, we were in the meets, we were a little bit lower overall from where we were, but again, these aren't the same students taking the test. It's different groups of students, but we're still well above the state average. So that's, we set those goals for ourselves, but overall, it's not the same students either, so it's different dynamics each year. But obviously, we did much better in the meets category with our history and biology. That's close to knocking it out of the park with those two tests. So that's 20 points almost above the state average. So it's pretty good. So does that answer your question?
It
Kind
does.
of. It's just not.
It does.
Yeah.
It just, we're above the state average on English 1 and 2, but we're lower than what we scored last year
Right.
on the meets.
Yes.
So are these
And-
preliminary numbers compared to the actual numbers from last year?
Yes, those are final numbers from last year.
So we really can't compare anything yet,
Right.
because it's concerning that we've dropped in Algebra 1, English 1, English 2, but we're not comparing apples to apples, if I understand that.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
But will it deviate that many percentage points?
With only
It
58
could-
testers now for
could,
one, yes.
Yeah, when you only
Because
have
any
58
student who
kids, you
showed
take
up
out.
after the last Friday of October,
Sure.
So we'll look at that when?
we usually look at it in August.
Okay.
So then I guess my question is, when you look at the data, and you go, okay, biology, history, obviously scores really high, English 1 and 2, and algebra, lower. Do you go, okay, that's a teacher thing, it's a student thing? I mean,
Well, I think when
I'm
you're
trying to
above the region, if you look at this graph in the back, we're above the region and the state in those areas. So again, it's not, and even, which I don't have it in here, we also got the writing breakdown. Like on the writing scale, we're like a entire point above the state average in the writing on the written part on the scale too. So our teachers are exceeding what the averages are in the region and the state overall. And it's just, again, there's different groups of students.
Yeah.
You have different numbers of
yeah,
different
I know,
populations.
I look at it and I
that-
go, man,
there's,
I wonder if other districts, like, do their percentages kind of, is it a testing thing, like why?
Well, it depends on the kids. Because you look at that later on, when we look at this longitudinal, it's different from middle school and elementary because you're going like this. For high school, there's really no longitudinal
Right.
because English 1 to English 2 is completely different. And so you take one English 1 class, last year's English 1 class may be significantly higher or lower than this year's English 1 class, depending on the students that are in that class.
Right.
And you could have 58 in that class and 85 in the
Yeah.
and like
There's
this
a lot of data.
upcoming 8th grade class is gonna have 85 in it to where this year's freshman class may only have 63 testing.
Yeah.
And that makes
matters.
a complete,
Yeah,
so you have to look at all of
one-
it together.
Yeah, one student's a higher percentage and you
Yeah.
have lesser students.
So on English
So-
1, if you want to talk about a percentile rank, so think about our norm reference percentile rank. For English 1, our scale score average was a 41.24 for all testers, retesters, and everybody. That puts us at a percentile rank of the 56th percentile in the
Okay.
state average.
Okay.
So if you think about percentile rank versus scale score, approaches, meets, and masters, where are we at on the bell curve?
Yeah.
We're moving to the,
Okay, that's good.
For English 2, like Mr. Jackson said, our average was a 5.24, 5 point on something on the written composition. It's out of 10, but it was a full point above the state average on the written composition. And that scale score for average was a 41.12, which was about the 54th percentile as well. So,
So that's good to know, because if if you look at this and you just try to make a judgment based off of that, that graph or that table, you go,
So many variables to go into.
yeah, and there's just,
Yeah, and
there's
they-
so much more behind it.
And they
so-
change the scale every
Yeah.
year once they get,
So-
they put the scale to a bell curve, so it's not even necessarily the same scale, the same criteria
English-
that last year's scores were based on, so it's
English 1, they had
really-
to
it's a little
have
deceptive.
2 more questions correct to even get meets from prior year. Algebra 1 was the exact same questions correct. Biology, they had to have 3 more questions correct to get meet from prior year. And US history was the exact same number as prior year.
Okay.
So they have also raised the bar on what it takes to be a meets person for those EOCs.
Okay, so the state is moving the target
Every
every
year.
year.
This was
Yes,
published
after-
6/12.
after
We want the
everything's already
target
done.
moving.
Yeah,
That's
after
correct.
we got this on Thursday.
So you could have been meets last year, but you would be approaches this year because it would have taken you 2 more questions to get right to be meets.
That's good to know. I'm just trying to understand, because we get questioned, well, where, and you can't just say, go look at the data, because
It's cute.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why we kind of just compared where the, the region and the state, where they are, because we're all, for this year, are judged on this year's scale, and so it's based on that, where, we're comparing this year's class to last year's scores. Well, they're not being judged on the same number of
Yeah.
Right.
required
yeah.
questions or same criteria, same scale, so it's a moving target, so it's a little deceptive. That's why it's just kind of a baseline
Yeah. That's
set of
good.
information to show you where we compared to.
I like the charts at the end, just where you can see the state,
Right.
the district, and the high school. Just the color chart is nice to just be able to see what that looks like compared. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
But you're right.
Thank you.
You can't take one look at it and say, oh, that's
No.
right where we are. There's-
Yeah. I mean,
There's a lot of things like Mr. Ritzel said, a lot of.
I sit here and I go, how can you use this information to grade your staff or grade your whatever, and,
Yeah, it's just a piece of it.
Okay.
We're ready for you, Mr. Bartley.
Ready? All right. We'll start with slide 1, and I'm not going to read this to you. You can all read. But we're going to point out some highlights and then definitely some celebrations and some good information we can take from this. On the first slide, which is the approaches, all subjects were at or above the region and the state, with the exception of 7th grade reading, which we were below the state just a little bit. But very proud of all of those numbers in that area. On slide 2, which is our meets, again, this is what we are focused on. Again, all subject areas. Just excuse me real quick. One celebration I want to point out is in the 8th grade social studies for approaches. We had 72% versus the region at 51 and state at 55. That is a huge increase, especially from last year at a 48%, which I know that's apples to oranges, but just want to give Coach Ernst a huge shout out. He worked very hard and got a great approaches number, and you'll just see that's going to continue as we talk. Going on to meets with slide 2, all grade levels were at or above region and state, with the exception of 8th grade reading was a little bit below the state. 7th grade math fell short of the state and the region. Again, those kids, those algebra kids are taken out of that one, so that does affect that. However, it's something we still need to look at. And then, of course, science was a little bit short of state and region, with a reminder of they did do better than last year, and this is a new curriculum for them, and so they're kind of getting their feet wet on that. Another celebration, 8th grade social studies, 43% met grade level, whereas the region was 25 and state was 30. And so, again, that's really good. And then our next slide, which is masters. Again, all grade levels were at or above region and state, with the exception of 7th grade reading was below state and region by just a little bit. 8th grade reading was below state and region, and 7th grade math. And 8th grade math was below state by a little bit. And then we had science again. But again, social studies, huge shout out to Coach Ernst, 22% master the subject, with 12% region, 16% state. And so, very good.
Our last slide is again our comparisons to the state meets and our goals. Reading did fall a little bit short, even though we didn't do as well as last year's meets with reading. We did do better than the state meets in reading this year, but we did not meet our goal of 3% because we fell a little bit short of last year's meets. Math did meet their goal with 41% over 37% last year, and then we did do better than the state with 38% this year. So again, you know, we have a lot of work to do with getting our kids to meets in a few areas, but overall the teachers did a great job. I'm not ashamed of these numbers one bit. And again, a huge shout out for Coach Ernst, who did a wonderful job. So I'm very proud of him. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? I don't think so.
Mr. Jackson will be happy to answer them.
Thank you. You're up, Dr. Brown.
All right.
Good job.
Well, I think, Mr. Brown, you asked the question of Mr. Jackson, when we look at the data, what are we looking at? And as I go through the data, every year when we get this the preliminary set, I'm looking at how do we compare to the state, and how do we compare in growth from the previous year. And so I'm looking at the 2024 cohort comparison. And so last year's third graders, how did they perform this year as fourth graders, to see that growth measure? Because at the end of the day, we're looking for academic achievement and growth in that achievement. And so those are the two areas I'm really focused on. Kind of echoing some of the things that has been said previously, I'm really proud of these results. It is a reflection of the hard work of our teachers, but more importantly, the hard work of our students. Last week, I had the opportunity to visit with one of my classroom teachers. She came by the office, and we were looking at her results, and she told me a story about a student that I was not aware of. And I think when we look at these numbers, that each of this set of data, we have to look at the human side of it. We can't just focus on the numbers, because every number represents the work of our students and the work of our teachers. And so there is a human story behind this. And so this teacher was telling me about a third grade student back in 2023. When it came time for STAR time, did not do well on the math assessment. They did not meet, to the disappointment of the student. And so this young lady made a determination that she was going to not only approach the next year, but she wanted to meet. And so as a fourth grade student, she did. She got meets. And so about January or February of this year, she was looking at her middle of year math scores. And she went to her math teacher and said, "What can I do to get masters on fifth grade?" She didn't. These are students who are looking at their data and growing from it. And so I think that kind of sets the stage for these numbers. Excuse me. So, looking at, get all jumped up here. Looking at third grade reading, there is no cohort comparison due to third grade being the first year students are assessed by the STAR.
Right.
We had 100% participation with 71 students testing. 83% of CS third grade students scored approaches grade level or above. 5% higher than the state average. 53% of CES third grade students scored meets grade level or above, 1% higher than the state average. 25% of CS third grade students scored master's grade level, 2% higher than the state average. Keep in mind that this is a brand new team to Clifton Elementary School. Ms. Waldy and Ms. Vaughn, their collaboration was evident throughout the year, and it even shows up in these results. I'm very pleased and proud of the work they put into our students and how the students responded to them as well. In fourth grade reading, CES fourth grade students achieved dramatic improvement across the board on their reading star. Once again, we had 100% participation with 70 students testing. 91% of CES fourth grade students scored approaches grade level or above, 9% higher than the state average, and 17% higher than their cohort scores in the 2024 comparison. 60% of CES fourth grade students scored meets grade level or above, 6% higher than the state average, 19% higher compared to the cohort scores of 41% from 2024. Data indicates that we should be able to make significant growth in STAR reading achievement by focusing on the written portion of the assessment, in which students provide constructed written responses to questions. And so one thing that Ms. Jones and I did, we looked at our data, and we're seeing that these short written responses, if we had gained more in that, these numbers would have even been better. And so we can take that information to help inform instruction at the third grade level, second grade level, but also prep for the third grade students who are coming up to fourth grade this year. It also enables our fifth grade teachers to focus on those deficits in their instruction and their intervention moving forward. So Ms. Florence will make adjustments for this next year's group of fourth grade students. Ms. Ripley can also use this information to help this cohort of students grow in this area as she works with them this coming year. Nonetheless, Ms. Florence did a great job this year, producing some very good results. Our students also put in the work and made it happen, so congratulations to them as well. We'll be expecting great things to come as they progress to fifth grade. Moving on to fifth grade reading. Once again, CS fifth grade students achieved dramatic growth, particularly in the categories of meets and masters, but also had a very strong showing in approaches. We had 100% participation with 57 students testing. 86% of CES fifth grade students scored approaches grade level or above, 9% higher than the state average of 77%, but a slight 4% less than compared to their cohort score of 90% from 2024. When we looked at the actual students, we were missing 2 of our students that scored higher that had moved away, and so that can attribute to some of those decreases there. 72% of CES fifth grade students scored meets grade level or above, 14% higher than the state average and 20% higher compared to their cohort score of 52% from 2024. 72%, that is amazing. Ms. Jones and I and Ms. Ripley and I were talking about our goal should be 70% in approaches. Imagine what we would do if we got 70% of our students at approaches, 90% at meets, 30% at masters. We would be the talk of the state if we were able to get that. But that's the goal that we're working towards. 39%, so going to masters, 39% of CES fifth grade students scored master's grade level. 39%. 9% higher than the state average and 16% higher compared to their cohort score of 23% from 2024. I am so thankful for the work and time Ms. Ripley pours into our students. We are truly blessed to have her as a member of our faculty, and the students respond to her very well, positively. Our STAR reading overall, we had 100% participation across all grade levels, 87% scored approaches grade level or above, a 2% increase from 2024 comparison, 61% scored meets grade level or above, a 7% increase from the 2024 comparison, 27% scored masters, a 1% increase from the 2024 comparison. Overall growth across the board. Once again, I'm very proud of our RLA teachers, Ms. Waldy, Ms. Vaughn in third grade, Ms. Florence in fourth grade, and Ms. Ripley in fifth grade, and extremely proud of all our students and the work and effort they put into learning this year. Moving on to math, we have our STAR Math Grade 3. Next slide. Once again, there is no cohort comparison due to third grade being the first year students are assessed by the STAR. However, based on the third grade results from previous years, we are seeing some very positive trends in our third grade math data. As such, I want to express how very proud I am of our third grade math teachers, Ms. Blything and Ms. Johnson. Once again, new to our district this previous year, as well as our third grade students, because they have gotten us out of a proverbial rut when it comes to our math data. And I'm very, very excited to see what's going to come of these students going into the fourth grade. We had 100% participation with 71 students testing. 77% of CES third grade students scored at approaches grade level or above. 7% higher than the state average. 50% of CS third grade students scored at master's grade level or above, 5% higher than the state average, and 14% of CS third grade students scored at master's grade level, 5% short of the state average. So we need to make some gains there on the high end. Moving to fourth grade math, we saw some limited growth in math achievement, but still growth at the fourth grade overall. However, there are still some bright spots to highlight, particularly the growth in students achieving meets grade level or above. Our objective moving forward is to show growth at approaches and masters, each end of the spectrum, so to speak. We had 100% participation with 70 students testing. 60% of CS fourth grade students scored at approaches grade level or above, 8% short of the state average of 68%, and a slight 1% less compared to their cohort score of 61% from 2024. 26% of CS fourth grade students scored at meets grade level or above, 20% less than the state average, and 7% less than their cohort score of 33% from 2024. 9% of CS fourth grade students scored at master's grade level, 15% less than the state average of 24%, but 3% more than the cohort score of 6% in 2024. Fifth grade math. Once again, we saw some amazing growth in fifth grade at math achievement. We are very fortunate to have Mr. Aiken where he is. He is definitely sitting in the right seat on the bus, I think. He is kind of the king of growth. We had 100% participation with 57 students testing. 82% of CS fifth grade students scored at approaches grade level or above, 9% higher than the state average, and 24 percentage points. Once again, 24 percentage points higher than this cohort score of 58% from 2024. So seeing growth in both areas there. 51% of CS fifth grade students scored meets grade level or above, 5% higher than the state average, and 16 percentage points higher than the cohort score of 35% from 2024. 30% of CS fifth grade students scored master's grade level, 8% higher than the state average, and 22% higher than this cohort score of 8% from 2024. Overall, math, we had 100% participation across all grade levels. Overall growth across the board, 73% scored approaches grade level or above, a 3% increase from 2024. 42% scored meets grade level or above, even with the 2024 comparison. 17% scored masters, a 4% increase from the 2024 comparison, and again, growth across the board. I'm very pleased and excited to have all of our math teachers returning this coming year. They have all done an amazing job and continue to show growth. So hats off to Ms. Blything, Ms. Johnson in third grade, Mr. Argo in fourth grade, and like I said, the Master of Growth, Mr. Aiken in fifth grade. We're going to continue to hone our craft and let iron sharpen iron. Looking at our science, this is our one standalone test for fifth grade. We had 100% participation. 79% of CS fifth grade students scored approaches grade level or above. That is 6% higher than the state average and 4% higher than the cohort's 2024 comparison. 39% scored meets grade level or above, matching the state average, but 4% higher than the cohort's 2024 comparison. And then 16% scored masters, slightly lower than the state average of 22%, and the cohort's 2024 comparison of 19%. Once again, I'm very proud of Ms. Isaacs. She is able to achieve, with what she's able to achieve with her students. She consistently brings in solid numbers year to year, and this year is no exception. I would note that even with an increase in the rigor of the science TEKS, she did better than the state and making those instructional moves to accommodate those changes, and so a job well done with her. Any questions about the elementary results? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's a couple of typos, obviously, on the district-wide one that took the data. It's been fixed. It's been shared with you as a present link in your Google Drive, so you just click it if you want to, but that'll be updated, and I'll fix that on the attachment as well. The big things that I want to share with you guys, as always, Mr. Ritzman's favorite color-coded T.D. Jones longitudinal data chart. Sadly, our class of 2026 will be falling off after this next year. We've only tracked them just for, since third grade. And then if you look, like I was answering for Mr. Brown. We had a huge moving target this year, so it just is what it is. You know, they changed the raw score and then they release it after the score is released. So we're going to pivot as always. So just a heads up on that. If you have an EOC student, they have already been able to click parent portal and go in. A parent can view every question their child takes. Starting tomorrow, the social media post did go out just a little bit ago. Click parent portal. You can see every question your child took. If you have a TELPAS student who took the language proficiency exam, you can hear what they did on speaking. Star Alt 2 will be posted just a little bit later. But in my culminated presentation, there are some confidential things on there because of student enrollment numbers and participation, so just be cognizant of that if somebody asks you about it. Anything less than 10 is a masked number and a masked performance. So the big thing that we're gonna shout out and celebrate is that we had 14 students who were eligible, 16 total students were eligible for our Star Alt 2, which is our, for significant cognitive delay, students have to qualify for this exam through our committee. It's very difficult to qualify. Every year we have to submit to the state why greater than 1% of our students participate in that. So I'll fill out the same form I do every year that says our committee made this decision and this was the students' identifying disabilities that qualify them for that. But of the 14 testers that took RLA or English 2, we had 50% get that level 2, which is kind of think about that like the meats of the grade level, and then 30% got level 3. Of our 13 testers that took math, 46% got level 2 and 38% got level 3. You have the data for the other two subgroups. And then for our TELPAS, I know Ms. E will give you a huge, wonderful presentation and she'll talk about our students who exit the program at a later date. But we just wanted to share that we had 80 students who were eligible to take the TELPAS exam overall for the district. 10% were beginning, 26% were intermediate, 45% advanced, and 19% got that coveted advanced high for their composite score. You have the data breakdown of all the students individually for their scores for their total stuff. But that was the big things I wanted to share with you. If you would like any percentile rank, scale score, moving targets, you're more than happy to look at all of my notes or what accountabilities, cut scores are gonna look like. But overall, we are progressing. We are seeing growth. Even if minuscule, we're seeing great growth in kids and confidence in kids and teachers because we're being data-driven with all of our decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great work by all the people. Great job. Number 12, the reports. Superintendent.
Put some dates in there on my report that y'all can look at. I know a couple of y'all, 2 or 3 of y'all came last year when we did our new teacher induction day. You're welcome to come back to that or anything else that we have on there.
Great. We will make note of those. Assistant Superintendent, Curriculum Director.
The only thing I have to add is we were selected for a program audit for how we set aside in our federal program our McKinney-Vento homeless eligible funding. So we will be submitting that when that comes out in September, October, whatever.
Exactly.
So another something to answer.
Thank you. Business Manager. Principals? No? Athletic?
One thing I would add is that the Meet the Teacher Night and Community Fair that the report is expanding. Even with the Ms. Berry before the meeting, I was able to meet with her. They're probably going to have a table, the Education Foundation set up for our parents and become more aware of that.
Great.
And how they can support our students towards higher education. And so we're excited about that and get information about all the great things that are not only happening in our school, but that's happening across our community. The school is really the hub of our community, but the businesses and organizations outside of the community are the spokes that support it.
Thank you. Athletic Director? Technology Director? ESL Director? Band Director? No. Special Programs? Excellent. Okay, no. All right. At 7:10, we will go and take a quick break, and then we'll go into executive session.
Quick break.
At 8:17, we will come out of executive session. Is there any future business? Or any other recommendations or anything? No? Is there any future business?
Nope.
No? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Woolman. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Dommel. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 8:17.